So today I wanted to talk about what's going on with us as a planetary consciousness. And I'm going to chill out for a second and give people a chance to show up, which I normally don't do. But today I'm feeling generous, I suppose, in one way or another. Whew, and it's getting hot in here already, so I'm not sure how long I'm going to last. But what I want to talk about is the main kind of theme that is going on with us internally and how that is affecting our planet, which then affects everything else outside of our planet. Whew. I think it just gets hot in here as soon as I turn the camera on. So this video is going to be about the spontaneous awakening of people that's happening right now. This video is going to be about what you and I are currently doing to the matrix. I love it. And what our role is as far as breaking the system. And when I say breaking the system, I mean both within ourselves, our families, our patterns, but also I mean on the outer, in the outer world as well. Hi, there's two people here. Hi. I'm melting. I spent a little bit too much time in the sun today. So spontaneous awakening is happening on a grand scale, and it's even blowing my mind, even though I don't get out that much. I'm seeing a lot when I talk to people. So spontaneous awakening, what you and I are actually doing within the matrix in this very moment of now, and what effect that is having on the matrix here and now. And also the bigger picture of what the first wave is now interacting with. And we have all chosen different things. Some of us have chosen to work in one department or direction, while others of us have chosen to kind of dabble in a multitude of things or a multitude of directions at the same time. I don't know why, but I get really hot when I turn this camera on. It must be the light or something. So there's been a debate going on for the last several years because myself, I think I made the announcement in 2018, I'm pretty sure, August 2018, that there was no longer a matrix or an electric fence to control humanity. However, 2 years later, and in last year, and 6 months ago, and 2 weeks ago, and probably 5 minutes ago, there are people asking when the matrix is going to come down. This is something that's been going around in our community for a super, super long time. That's one of the reasons that I want to address it. But the other more important reason is the effect that we are having as we become multidimensional, the effect we are having on the matrix. So the debate about whether the matrix is in existence or it has been taken down. When you learn how to maneuver past said matrix, okay, you pick up that skill, you can then move and maneuver outside of that barrier. When you maneuver outside that barrier, you can get access to all kinds of amazing things depending on what your frequency is and also what kind of information you're interested in, or if you are asking a specific thing, you can also tap into specific things as well. There is a lot of misinformation out there, or a lack of knowledge or lack of awareness about this matrix. People have been told, I guess, or feel or think that the matrix is just a third dimensional confine. But I'm here to tell you that is not the case. Yes, the third dimension is the most limiting part of the matrix, but Dimensions 1 through 12 are all part of the conglomerate that makes up this matrix. So if you're in meditation and going to the sixth dimension, there are still interdimensional beings. There's still polarity. 1 through 12, you have polarity, and it becomes less and less extreme as you go up in the dimensions. So we don't, in the 12th dimension, we are not having the broadcast frequency signal coming from the grid that we do at the third dimensional level. And when I say the third dimensional grid, like things like go to work, pay your taxes, all of that saying, think 1984, never read the book, but just so to kind of give you an idea what I'm saying. Dimensions 1 through 12 are all part of the matrix. Less and less manipulation, less and less interference as you go up or out, or however you would like to picture that or look at that. But there is still interference within those dimensions. There are extraterrestrials, there are interdimensional beings, there are all kinds of other things that exist in dimensions 1 through 12. So people say, I'm mostly in the fifth dimension. That does not mean that you are out of the loop of control and or manipulation. So the debate about whether it's there or whether it's not there depends, like everything else, on your current perspective. So in 2017 or 18, sometime around there, I learned how to maneuver past the 3D matrix and go out of the confines past the 12th dimension. That's where I can solar remote view the sun, listen to what's going on Mars, whatever it is I am choosing to do at that time. If someone hasn't learned how to maneuver past the barrier of the matrix, dimensions 1 through 12, they are going to feel like it's still there. So remember, like everything else, it's just a matter of our perspective. Now, the beautiful and positive news about this is this. When I go any dimension, fifth dimension or above, I'm picking up those things around me. Okay, the more I go up there, the more relaxed, the more peaceful, the more at ease I am with myself and my surroundings and my life, the more time I can spend in other dimensions. Now, it's not an escape into La La Land. Let me tell you what's going on, because I started seeing this, I think it was about 2018. So every time I go up there, I'm pushing on something. You can think of it like a balloon. So every time you're going from the bottom of the balloon to the top of the balloon, you're stretching it. You're stretching it. Well, think about how many of us in this current moment of now are escaping up to the fifth dimension and past. And when you do that, when I do that, when all of us together do that, and there are so many more people doing it right now than I have ever seen. But when we do that, we're stretching the matrix to the point where we have cracked the matrix. Now, is it still there? Again, that depends on your perspective, because if you can maneuver past that barrier, you feel like it's not there. People can't or don't have the awareness to move, don't know how to move past that barrier. To them, it is there. Both perspectives would be completely correct, as everything is always just about perspective. So every time we, as a consciousness, go up there, obviously Tina's not dancing up there with her party hat in the 12th dimension, but as a consciousness, as a being, as a Christed being and an avatar, we go up there, we're putting cracks in it, and eventually it will be down for everyone. Now, I know, because I can see approximately, well, I shouldn't say approximately, but I can see the amount of people that were kind of up there in that area in 2018 as opposed to now. And you guys, man, we're really doing it. There's so many people doing this. And even if you're only doing it, you may think that you're not doing a great job. You may think, oh, well, I'm only out there. I can only, hold my concentration or pay attention to what's going on out there for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. That is astronomical because historically humans have not been doing it at all. We had, in history, there are prophets, there are people that have gone up there. The trailblazers before us have definitely gone up there before. That's where a lot of these prophecies and legends and all of this oral tradition stuff comes from. A lot of it comes from there. So every time we disappear there, even if it's only for a few seconds or a couple minutes, when you start doing it, it doesn't matter. We are literally expanding, pushing, breaking, and cracking that matrix, and it will crash this entire system. Trust me. I can see it, and it kind of looks like a giant membrane or something. But so praise yourself and your ability to expand your consciousness when you disappear there, even for a very short time, because it's making such a huge difference in how fast we transmute what's going on this planet and how fast we are able to take the matrix down for everyone. That being said, people that have gone there maybe before other people, pushing on that, making holes in that. If I've been doing that for years, that makes it easier for you and easier for the next person. So every single person that spends any time above the third dimensional or the fifth dimensional plane of existence is cracking the barrier to make it easier for everyone else to go up there. When you are up there, you can connect to all kinds of amazing information. On the polarity side of that, that's not so fun, is the fact that when you go up there, when your consciousness expands and you take a leap, let's say to the 11th dimension, there are still interdimensional beings, aliens, extraterrestrials, all of that are still present there. So you are going to deal with a repercussion. And when I say a repercussion, it's really not a big deal if you have an awareness of it. No one's going to put a hit out on you or do anything crazy. Here's what happens. When you escape out past the fifth dimension between 5 and 12, if you're familiar with the game Whack-A-Mole at the county fair or amusement parks, there's this game, right, that you play and you have these two hammers, and every time the mole comes up, you're, just kind of whacking it like bad mole, go back to the hole. Essentially, that's what's happening to us when we're playing around between the 5th and 12th dimension, especially when you're talking 9th to 12th dimension. There is a kind of whack-a-mole that's going on. Again, it's not a hit out on your life. It's not anything serious. But when you go there, know that this can happen. So say I'm out there for 40 minutes and I'm meditating, I'm gathering information, I'm looking at the planetary light quotient, I'm looking at how many people are aware of a certain thing, anything like that. What will happen to me with their little whack-a-mole game is they will drop something through the matrix to wherever I am that is a fear-based message, depending on where my fear is actually rooted. Okay, just to make a stupid example. So you're up there in meditation, accessing this information, and then you're totally blissed out, right? And then all of a sudden you have an extreme fear of your car breaking down, or, we can make it like a country song, your wife's leaving, whatever it is, wherever there's any kind of fear rooted in your body, the opposing interdimensional beings will drop a message down to you, specifically based on where your fear is still in your body. Now, that's polarity still 1 through 12. But again, I don't even think we can take a look at that as a negative thing because of this. When I'm up there, if they drop a message to fear, that tells me that I still have fear in that one area and that that's something that I myself can work on. So again, just be aware that that's You'll think, why am I totally blissed out, receiving, having access to all these things? And all of a sudden, I'm worried that I'm going to lose my job, or I'm worried that I'm going to lose my house, or whatever thing it is. Again, they will drop a message that is rooted in the place where your fear still exists within you, within your third dimensional avatar. So know that. But knowing where your fear still resides within your physical body, to me, is nothing when you're talking about taking out the entire matrix. So we're doing a really, really awesome job of dismantling that. In 2018, I saw there were a couple cracks in it and a couple holes in it. And like when I would maneuver up there, I'd kind of like go to the holes that somebody went before me. It's a lot easier now. Okay. The matrix is probably like 1/3 right now, cracks and holes, to the best of what I am able to remote view from dimensions 5 through 12. So every time we spend any amount of time, 5 in the 5th dimension or 6th dimension or 12th dimension, wherever it is, we are spending time. We absorb. And I know you're looking at me on a video and it's like you are a solid physical person in front of me. But as we know, we are nothing but a ball of energy. So when my energy goes up into the other dimensions, that energy that's up there coerces or like coagulates with my energy. So when I come back down here in meditation and then go to the grocery store or take a walk on the grid, whatever I'm doing, I'm putting out the frequency of dimensions 5 through 12 every single place that I go. Now, the really awesome thing about that is it's causing a spontaneous awakening within the masses because so many of us are doing it right now. So I had a conversation, a meeting with someone over Zoom, and I looked at her energy and kind of like what she was going through and had a conversation with her higher self before I talked to her, right? And then I talked to her. And there was a really, really super big gap between what higher self was communicating that they wanted this person to know and what the person actually knew, even though on paper, this person was studying a lot of things, delving into information that was very helpful, working in the healing business, all kinds of things like that. And every time I do a reading for someone, I have to have I usually will have a 5-minute conversation first to see where they are, where the vibration is, which tells me where the verbiage is, which then dictates exactly how I speak to that person. Because I don't speak to every person the same way. My frequency is always the same, but my verbiage will change depending on the frequency of that person, because that tells me the frequency of their understanding, so I know where to go. So, but there is a really, really, really stark contrast between what this person understood in the 3rd dimensional or 4th dimensional aspects of self and the information that I was being asked to relay from higher self. And it was the strangest thing I think I've ever experienced, because normally when I get messages from higher self, people know that something similar is going to come out, and it ends up being maybe things that they thought were a possibility but weren't sure, and then there's an elaboration on that. I've never had this kind of interaction where there was that kind of stark contrast between the higher self and the 3rd dimensional avatar. So, and having this discussion and working with this other person, and I always, when I do readings, I always write them down. I always offer to take pictures and send the transcript over to that person. And this has happened with some clients, but it also happens sometimes with my neighbors. I say something to them, they'll look like a deer in headlights, but 3 days later, they'll repeat back to me what I said and actually elaborate on it. Now, I know they're not doing any studying on it. So what I'm telling you is, because of our energy, because we're floating around and experiencing multidimensional energy that's becoming cohesive within our own ascending body, we are spreading that to everyone that we converse with. And it's happening even through text messages. I know that you guys can feel people's energy through text messages. I certainly can. Even if it's a few words, I can tell if the person is angry or sad or happy, or even if they're not even talking about that. So, what I am, and I'm sure most of you are also witnessing at this time, is that someone may not have much of a comprehension of something. And then 3 days after you've spoken to them, they come back and they're like, oh, wow, what did you say? What did you say to me? Like, there is so much, and it's so spontaneous. And we've been talking about dropping seeds, and I gave up dropping seeds quite a while ago. The only way I do that now is if I think it's really important, I will say something. If the person, whatever, I gauge the response. I don't keep, pushing and pushing, pushing on that person. I just kind of drop little things. There's never any big downloads. There's never any big, bombs or disclosure kind of stuff or anything like that happening. So our time in those other dimensions, picking up that energy, having it, allowing it, inviting it to become cohesive with our own energy, is spreading the energy of the upper dimensions to the entire planet. So I've been talking about the core of Earth and how that holds the template for the human being and how we are connecting with the original template. So now with our feet, we are pulling it out of the earth, connecting to that magic, becoming much faster and much greater at manifesting. And simultaneously, we are also dipping into dimensions 5 through 12. Again, picking up that awareness and spreading it every single place we go, every person we speak to, everything that we do, we are spreading that around. So that's really, really, it's super great news. So this may be news to people that there is manipulation, because I know I've heard for many, many years, and I don't argue with people. If they are open to conversation, I will have conversation, but I never get into an argumentative thing with anyone. So there's been this whole thing about, hey, just get above the 5D, you don't have the manipulation. Manipulation goes all the way up to 12. Your soul, the one that holds your beautiful soul map of what you've chosen to do, and that's all of it. I've been talking about it for a while, so I'm not going to explain that part. I think you get what it means to have a soul map. Here's the happy things I chose. I'm going to get into alignment with those things so I can live the happy life that I've chosen, both now and prior to coming in here. So our soul, and I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't see it. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. So is our soul in the 13th dimension? Is it? And I kept seeing 22. It could be in the 22nd dimension. You guys, dimensions are unlimited. So yes, you can be messed with. And when I'm talking messed with, we're so strong now, we can't even really be energetically messed with. The only thing they can do is kind of drop those telepathic, like I said, fear-based messages, depending on where your personal fear is rooted. So the soul is somewhere up above the 12th dimension. Your soul contracts, your soul plan, your soul mission, your soul desire, all of that cannot be messed with. And that's important. So what it means is you need to be really calm, really peaceful, and really centered. Because if your soul is sitting somewhere between the 13th and the 22nd dimension, for example, your higher self is the relay system between your physical avatar and your soul, where it resides in that other dimension. I've been talking about this also for a while. Your soul is, like they said in biblical times, Holy Spirit, okay? Think of it as like, the relay that you used to do in track where you pass something off, okay? The higher self is the relay between where the soul resides and where the physical avatar resides until we all pick up enough and become energetically cohesive enough within our avatar to have the higher self be in here all the time. The higher self is already in here for, I would say, many, many thousands of people on the planet. But, I can't just take a 12-mile walk and go to the 11th dimension when I want to, right? I have to send my higher self up there because my physical body could not do that. So, again, higher self is the relay to the soul map, and the soul map with the soul is in a higher dimension where there is zero interference. So, all you need to do here in your physical avatar is be very clear and be very calm when you are meditating or you are going to some other place intentionally. Just know that when you go up there, and the further up there, out there, however you want to look at it, you get, the more access you have to your soul. And it becomes, sorry, I'm getting really hot. It becomes really, really easy to connect with the soul and with the soul map, what we're doing, where we're going, what we came here to do, all of that beautiful stuff. I'm melting. Okay, so, man, I start to lose my brain when I got hot here. So your higher self, as you send it out to those places, is bringing you back little gifts, little packets of information. Okay. So your job in the physical avatar is to receive the clues and the wisdom from your soul map that drops down from the matrix. Okay, so every time you pray or meditate or whatever way it is you do it, doesn't have to be the way I do it, doesn't matter. When you connect with yourself and your soul, those messages will drop down through. Okay, so be in a real state of clarity, because then your job in the avatar is to take those drop down codes, those packets of information from the matrix, and be clear to receive them, just decipher them and understand exactly what you're being given. Now, and the reason I explained that other beings out there can drop fear-based messages depending on where your fear personally resides in you, is to know that when you're up there receiving the beautiful message and you start to hear like ridiculous chitter chatter like a gossipy neighbor, just ignore it, because those interdimensional beings are trying to distract you like a gossiping neighbor. Okay, so just ignore them. But I just wanted you to be aware that that does happen when you go up there. A lot of times people will think, oh, I can't concentrate or I can't meditate. I'm still hearing chitter chatter. That's right, because you've gone to a place where they don't want you to be. And so that chitter chatter, again, they can't hurt you. They can't do anything to you, but they will chatter your ear off as long as you listen to it. So disregard, or you can say you don't consent or whatever it is. But our most important job right now is listening to the relay system going back and forth between the matrix. So my avatar is here and I have to go essentially through the 12 dimensions. And you'll do that to the point where you've made a path, or like kind of like a bridge for yourself. And you can just be riding your bike and stuff will just be dropping down to you from the 12th dimension. And that's a good time. Trust me, I know. So the two other things that are super important that are going on for us right now, other than receiving and assimilating to the messages that are being dropped to you from the soul, is one, we're transmuting the lessons of the elders of, our family bloodline, but it's not just our family bloodline. Sometimes we have connections to people. Soul connections to people may not be a blood connection to someone, but there's been a soul contract in the past. And for example, a lot of people at the end of this cycle right now are in a contract with a person. They've been in a multitude of contracts before. That's why people look familiar. Their voice may sound familiar. At a minimum, their energy will feel very familiar, very comforting to you, that's because at the end of the cycle, we've worked with these people before. Now, a contract, just to clear up the whole contract thing, that just means two people, or I've made certain things in contract with myself. I made certain contracts with other people. I made certain contracts with groups of people. Okay, so there's all kinds of contracts that we made. May not exactly be family. Family at the end of the cycle is definitely a huge part of this transmutation. Okay, so we're transmitting two really huge things on this planet. One is our connectedness to other people, whether that be a soul contract or a bloodline, generation after generation of generation, in a family physical way instead of more of an etheric soul contract that comes from a level. Again, we experience these people time and time again. We recognize these people. We're attracted back to them. We're attracted back to our specific family to deal with the things that we have not dealt with before. And if that wasn't enough, there is not always in every family, but I'm speaking to you right now. You and I have chosen to be, if this resonates with you, if it doesn't, fine, you found me for some other reason. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Take what soothes you, take what pleases you, whatever you want to take from this, that's what you take from this. But our family connection. So I'm not just talking about my immediate family. Let's say we're talking, for example, about poverty consciousness. Okay, say poverty consciousness is something that runs in your immediate family. That didn't just drop in from your mom and your dad, right? So that comes from your grandparents and their grandparents and their grandparents. And the thing about the energy, it's so amazing, so magical, yet so overwhelming at times, is there are certain people within each family dynamic that it chose to finish off the final puzzle so that we can break the matrix and free the planet, so that we can join the rest of the galaxy in the omniverse and freedom, and we can all be together, we can work together, we can, just do whatever we want to do. Transmuting those family things are not easy. When you look at something and you say, oh, I could have a conversation with my son and straighten this out, he's an adult, he'll understand. But people don't understand things that are in me or in my son or in my parents that don't come from my parents or my son. Okay, so I could not understand it. I see it a lot, but I may not understand it. You may not understand it. Your parents, your grandparents may not understand it, but nonetheless, we are transmuting the family line. Okay, so that's what we talk about when we talk about karma. For some reason, not a big fan of the word karma. To be simple, let's just call karma lessons. Okay, so there was a lesson. No one ever messages me till I go live to make a video. So the karma, okay, the karma is just a lesson. We set out to end the poverty consciousness in the family line. Or, there's a million things. I can give you a couple examples. You'll get the idea. Rejection is another thing. And this one is a really, 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 really tough one for me. Whatever is toughest for you in the family transmutation, when you are able to work on that, when you are able to successfully contribute to the easement of whatever's gone down the bloodline or whatever's gone through the soul contract from other lifetimes, you heal not only yourself, but you heal that family line all the way back to wherever that issue started. So it could be poverty consciousness. You could have rejection issues like I do. It could be following in the family legacy of a line of work. It could be following the religious indoctrination. Say your family has been Catholic or Protestant or whatever for, 12 different generations. And initially it's something they wanted to be involved in as Cathars, as an original organic form of true wisdom and information. But let's say once it started to be manipulated or controlled, the family didn't want to be in that religious hierarchy anymore, but they stayed in it. So if that was a pattern for your family, you will be breaking that pattern. For many of us, and the most sensitive people on this entire planet, have kind of the same family issue, I've noticed. And here's a gigantic one. I never saw what my parents had as a relationship work out. I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like to be around the fighting, or they didn't seem like they really liked each other, or they were never affectionate to each other. Whatever it was, whatever you were seeing and didn't process as a child that is now affecting your relationships. Like, oh, I really love someone, but I have this thing in the back of my head that'll never work out because I look back at my parents and I look back at my grandparents or whatever. So there's all these patterns, there's all these lessons, which is all that karma is patterns and lessons that we came here to break. Now, as if it wasn't enough to be the one person in the family that is trying to break the pattern or break the lesson or solve the problem, simultaneously right now, and comment if this resonates. It looks like the comments, I haven't gotten any comments, so we'll see. Maybe wait till it's after, but I want to know where people are, how many people resonate with this. And I'm going to ask because I'm really not on Facebook anymore. I interact with so few people anymore, but here's what I've noticed with every single person that I interact with. And it's mind-blowing that I'm doing this in the medical establishment. But again, the energy we pull in from the core of Earth, the energy that we are accessing, assimilating, and energetically cohesive with in the outer or upper dimensions is coming back into the body. And what I've noticed, the pattern is, just within the last year, that every single person I am speaking with is involved and one of the top echelons of the systems that need to be broken. So you could be going through judiciary things right now, okay? You could have, it could be something simple from running a stop sign. I doubt it's going to be that right now, unless you are a person that has chosen multiple areas to break the programming in the matrix. So not only are we doing it for our family line, we're doing it, whatever we're doing in here, we're doing out there. For me right now, it's the medical establishment, and I could give you some crazy examples, and I probably shouldn't. But they wanted to, for my MRI, they wanted to run metal through my entire body, and I read the information on that, and I said no. And the lady came over and said, "Are you done with your paperwork, Miss Hammond?" And I said, "Yes, I am, but I'm not doing it." And she goes, "You're not doing what? You're not doing your paperwork?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing an MRI and having metal run through my body. I just got out of the hospital 7 days ago, and I'm just now starting to feel better. It's not something I'm going to do." And she said, "Oh, well, just go ahead and keep your appointment. Go back and talk to the technicians, and they can answer any questions that you have." I said, "I don't have any questions. Everything is typed out in black and white on this piece of paper for me, and I'm not doing it." But I got sent back there anyway, and I had the same exact discussion with the other two technicians back there. And the lady said, "Well, what are you doing for yourself?" So I started talking about potassium bicarbonate and drinking wheatgrass and God knows what. Sometimes my filter doesn't work, but right now it's not working with the medical establishment on purpose. In fact, I just told my doctor also that I went to a healer, that she could see inside my body, that she is telling me some of the same things that you are telling me from the MRI. And the interesting part was when I walk out of there, when I was talking to the two girls, neither one of them seemed to really want to say anything about what I had said in their presence. But I told them, I just said, I am, sorry, I'm going to have to mute people, I guess. I'm getting nonstop messages and it's very distracting. She said, whatever, it's harmful. Millions of people do it, whatever. And I said, yes, I've read what's in black and white, and I'm not doing it. And I said, I'm sensitive to alcohol. I'm sensitive to marijuana. I mean, I just told him the truth. And it was just like, I don't know, maybe they didn't expect it, but I also didn't expect to be working within the medical establishment. But that's where I am currently. I'm working in other places as well. I know there are multitudes of you that are not just working in one place. But again, right now you will be working with disseminating the matrix within the medical system, disseminating the matrix within the judicial system. You will be working on disseminating the matrix within the banking system, within, HUD or housing projects, whatever. We are infiltrating every system. And some people look at this and say, well, why am I sick? Or why do I need to live in subsidized housing? Or whatever it is that you're going through. But that's happening because that part of that pattern needs to be eliminated. And the people working in the matrix and wanting to work in the matrix and agreeing with the matrix of the medical establishment, the judiciary establishment, and all the banking establishment and everything else, they don't want to change, right? So that means someone from the outside who really doesn't want to deal with it at all. I hate going to the doctor. I hate a hospital. I hate all of that. But either way, that's what I'm doing right now. So, personally, within the family line, within the bloodline, within the soul connectedness contracts that we made, we're dealing with the transmutation of the 3D issues that have not been released at a cellular level within our body, within our families, and generation, however far back that goes for you. Within the judicial system, the medical system, the housing system, the banking system, we're doing the exact same thing. And I really started noticing a pattern in the last couple months. So I basically, on a regular basis, for the last 8 months, have only talked to 2 people, both of them dealing with self-healing, both of them dealing with the medical establishment. And if you believe that's a coincidence, I think you're past that. There are no coincidences, and I think that's really obvious at that time. So I want to tell you, even if it feels like you're struggling with your body, or even if it feels like you're struggling with the medical establishment, or you're struggling to get checks printed at the bank, or whatever all this crazy stuff is, we go in there with an energy that is higher than the pattern that they are running on, and it disturbs the process. So that happens every single time. And I can't tell you the amount of times I love talking to my insurance agent's receptionist. I have for the last couple of years, I've had just amazing conversations with this lady, talk about an awakening. And so we talk about all kinds of stuff. Because of that, I always call her to pay my bill. She always says, you could do this, you could set this up electronically. And I'm like, nope, I love talking to you. So anyway, that's what I do. But when I call her every single time, she's like, and this has been going on for over 2 years. I'm so sorry. Every time you call me, I have a problem with my computer. And I'm just like, yeah, I have that effect on things. I did end up telling her that. So know that what feels like in a 3D sense is pushing against you is really, and I love doing videos because all these things come out of my mouth without judgment. And the faster I can talk without judgment, the more information I can pull directly from my soul without sitting around thinking about it before I make a video, which, trust me, doesn't work. And that's why I've been told, just get on here and just do it. So that's what I'm doing. But whatever you feel like is a pain in your butt, or it's pushing against you, or why can't I get checks, or why is the computer system down every time they call the cable company, or whatever it is that's malfunctioning in 3D, every time you're dealing with it, it's because you are altering the system. You're the one doing it. So you need to learn. Trust me, as a Scorpio, I've said this 100 times. I love to exaggerate too. I'm sure I didn't say it that many times. I don't have a lot of patience, especially when it comes to third dimensional things. But the reason we need more patience with the third dimensional things is our avatar is holding frequencies up to the 12th dimension, and many of us pass the 12th dimension. And so when you try to write a check at the bank or deal with your local cable company, all of your energy, remember, your energy doesn't have to do with your body walking to the bank and going in the bank. It could be straight through the computer. However, you are symbiotically interacting with computers and peoples and anything that is part of the third dimensional system, you're fucking breaking it. Do you hear me? Can you hear me now? You're breaking the 3D matrix. You're breaking the 3D system. And I know it is a challenge and a struggle to deal with the medical establishment or the banking establishment or dealing with subsidized housing or any of that other stuff. But we can't break the system from the outside. It's like if you've watched detective shows and detective movies, I don't know, my thing about cop dramas for like 40 something years, like since I was a child. You always know in every spy movie, right? Whether it's the CIA, KGB, or whether it's even something simple like your local police task force, they always send somebody from the outside in undercover, okay? So we are undercover, disturbance agents to the matrix, okay? So we can't expect to sit around and have it be all rainbows and unicorns, as much as I love unicorns. We're doing it though. We're fighting the good fight. I don't like to use the word fight. We're not fighting. We are peacefully interacting and cohesively and spontaneously interacting with 3D systems, patterns, and paradigms in the third dimension, which are really, really frustrating and irritating sometimes. But it's a come from the outside, work on the inside job. And that's exactly why we're doing it. Exactly what we're doing with it. And everything in the world, our world, outside of us, the people, the places, the things, all interactions, all of that is coming from our own inner healing. So I myself included, because I can be very, very hard on myself, but we have to ease up a little bit on ourselves and just even think about going through the end of a 26,000 year cycle and transmuting all that family stuff that the people before us didn't do. That in itself can be an overwhelming job. You may be sad, you may be spontaneously crying, whatever it is. But on top of that, we're going through ascension. We're mending the family line, the bloodline, the soul connected, soul contract line with other people, with situations, with groups. And we're tearing apart the 3D system, the pattern of the matrix, by interacting with that at all of that simultaneously at the exact same time. It's a lot of work. It can be overwhelming. I have days when I, feel like I'm not doing anything or feel like I'm not getting anywhere. But we are causing a spontaneous awakening in ourselves. We are causing a spontaneous healing in ourselves. We are causing a spontaneous healing with everybody we interact with. We are causing a spontaneous healing and a pattern reversal in every 3D situation we are involved in. So we're doing a lot. Our destination is very, very important. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I save it for last because it's so important. Our destination, what we want to do, where we want to go, who we want to be with, whatever it is, our personal destination is huge. Our destination is important, but not if our journey is miserable. Our destination is the ultimate goal. It's the ultimate joy. We can allow ourselves to be in a state of misery while we're doing it. I just need to work here a little bit longer. I just need to stay here a little bit longer. I just need to, whatever it is for you, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. But you're staying in a certain situation or a certain pattern, because you are afraid at some fundamental root level to excuse yourself from that situation until the outward world matches up with the beauty that resides inside you. And so many of us are making ourselves miserable along the way. The biggest reason for not doing that is because whatever brings us joy, even if it might be hard to do it initially, gets us to the goal faster. But that's not even the important part. The important part is that we are not miserable on this journey. With all the things I've been talking about that we're currently involved in doing, it's a lot and it's overwhelming. But if you're having good conversations, if you're having good relationships, if you're eating good food, if you're spending beautiful quality time in nature, if you're joyous along the journey to the goal, it's beautiful. Instead of staying in something that doesn't work for you, that's not beautiful, which means it takes longer to get to the goal. Thank you for being here. Our ability to maneuver around the different dimensions and connect with our soul and our soul map is screwing with this matrix to the point that I'm not sure I could even verbalize to you. But know that it's happening. Know that you are doing it. Know that you're important. Know that you're not going to be taken out of here or taken away from your work when it's what you want and your soul came here to do it. Thank you for being here to do it. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for all those people that I speak with, that I interact with, that recognize and want to willingly cooperate in that soul contract. It's beautiful and it's so helpful to us all as a group. I love you. Thanks for being here. Bye.